really appreciate to all the candidates that you will be coming, and you kept your promise. So thank you very much for that. And I remember very well remember that how the session was, and how you motivated each one of them for you know you gave a good idea about the upskilling, you gave the good idea about where they can learn the new things, a lot many sharing on the profiles where they can go and read about, and figure out the things that what more they can do other than just getting into one technology. Many other options you have opened for them. So thank you so very much. And I will not take just a small introduction to those who have not attended last session and those who don't know Binu. So let me just give a very small introduction about Binu. She is Binu Midhun. She is working as in IBM as advisory customer success manager, over 15 years plus experience. And more than this, I would want Binu to talk about herself and not, reading a particular bio about her. So over to you, Binu.
Sure. Thanks, Avneet. So hi, everyone. Like Avneet said, I'm working with IBM and I've been associated for the last 12 years with IBM. And I started my journey as a mainframe COBOL Kicks developer. After that, in the same project, I got a chance to work as a big data developer and my journey onwards to data science. And I came to IBM Labs, and then I got a chance to work with the sales team here, and hence today I'm a customer success manager. It was a very, I would say, a very unique journey for me. But I realized that, if I could make it, all of us can, right? It's just that we just continue to put efforts, and sometimes we feel that, efforts are not seen, but it's definitely counted. Every effort is counted. And I'm very happy to talk to you. So last time we did talk about a lot of career questions and, what do I do? What do I do next? But today I really want to focus a little on the knowledge side as well, because it's so important that we all have the industry level expertise, when we're applying. And I'm going to take you through a lot of practical applications today of the industries. I myself have worked in banks and, the manufacturing side and also the retail side industry. So having a very good domain knowledge, is also very, very important. So I would encourage, of course, the technical side is very important, and we also develop the domain side of things. And if you already have some industry experience, do bring it on your resume. Is very, very important. All right. So Avneet, I'll just do a final check. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'll need your help to see if my screen is visible.
Yes,
Do you
Binu.
see IBM Watson X platform?
Yes, welcome back, Binu.
Yes. And I'll also just check my slides. This is also
Yes,
visible.
yeah.
Great. All right. So last time where I left you guys was on this deep dive AI, where we were discussing the differences between, AI and, what is AI applications built using machine learning and deep learning. And then we have data science that cut across, all of this. That uses statistics, computer science, applied mathematics, visualizations. So today, I'm going to also touch upon generative AI, which is a subset of deep learning as we talk today. And what is generative AI? Anything that can generate text, audio, images, visuals, anything that can generate something is generative AI. So I'm going to take you through the Watson X platform today, which is, a generative AI platform that we use in IBM, and a lot of the clients are also using. But at the same time, how it would be benefiting to you is it's not just IBM, it also brings in the open source and the third-party LLMs, right? The large language models onto the platform. So we're going to take a look at that as well today. And very, very important, I talk about the different roles of the industry. So a couple of slides before we go over to what's next. And today, we're going to make sure that it is interactive. So I'm going to take maybe a 45 minutes continuous session, and then, we'll take a break for questions, and then I'll continue to the platform and use cases, right? So these are the typical AI use cases that we've seen in the industry: facial recognition, fraud detection, recommendation engine, speech recognition, machine vision. These are the AI applications that we're using in our everyday life, right? And very important that I touch upon these different roles in the industry today. So there is a process that we follow, which is called the CRISP DM. This is the industry standard process that is followed in any data science project. And through this, I'm going to define a couple of roles that you might want to explore. Right. The very first process is business understanding. So any project that we start off in data science, it starts with business understanding. What is business understanding? There are some initial requirements, right? On the onset, there is always this initial requirements that are discussed, right? To understand the project. What is the use case that you want to work on? This is where the business objective is clearly defined. So any data science project, it could be just finding the number of page views, on your online. How many visitors are actually visiting my website? Starting with that. And if you want to do some predictive uh, analysis on how many more people, right? So you will have your history data. Suppose this is the business objective that we define. The next step is data understanding. So whenever you're starting with a project, the initial data would be shared with you, right? Wherein you will find out the first insights. Are there any data quality problems? Are there any data issues? Or are there any interesting insights that I can draw from this, data set, which of course would be just 1% of the whole huge data, but is there some interesting hypothesis and or a hidden information that I can share extra with the customer at the end, right? So that is the data understanding, the second step over here. Then comes the data preparation. All of us should be familiar with the data preparation, wherein, it covers all activities that lead to the modeling part. But before that, your data has to be cleaned, it has to be pre-processed, the missing values have to go. For example, if the temperature in one data set is in centigrades and in the other it is Fahrenheit, you have to do the data wrangling process, right? All that comes under the data preparation step. The fourth step is modeling itself, where you have different modeling techniques. Now, you will have to do tuning the parameters, which is called hyperparameter optimization, or you have some specific techniques to basically do the modeling part, right? Of course, the code that you would use is Python or R or Scala, any language that you're familiar with. And then you can see that there is a bidirectional arrow over here, which means that you would be going back and forth, stepping back to the data preparation phase, which is often needed, right? And we always say that 80% of your time is going to go in this data preparation, which is the key here, right? How how good our model is depends on the data that is used. Very, very important, right? So this step is the crucial part, the data preparation step. Then we go into the modeling. Once the model is ready, we go into the evaluation phase, wherein we make sure that the model is evaluated correctly and we are very much satisfied before it is pushed to deployment, which is, where there are different regions. You have development region, your staging, and then UAT, and then production, right? Anytime we are responsible to push this code, we have to make sure that the evaluation is good and that the initial business understanding that we had, right? Sometimes what happens is we define the business objective, but eventually when we evaluate what the model does is something very different. We have to align with the business understanding that was done in the very beginning, right? So you can see there is an arrow that goes back to business understanding. We make sure that the customer is always involved in these steps. There is, we have these weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings where your end clients are always connected with you and they understand what's happening. If there are any tweaks or any changes that is recommended, that is also followed along the process. So this is the complete process. And once the evaluation is good, you move your model to production, right? So you do review between the different versions and the best model is selected for deployment. Now, On the right-hand side, you see different roles over here. The very first one is data engineer. We all have heard about these different roles. We'll just touch upon very briefly what each of this does. So data engineer is the person who is responsible to architect these different data pipelines. Now your data would be scattered across different databases. Could be just a MySQL DB2, or it could be a cloud object storage. It could be, a MongoDB. Wherever your data is, it is the data engineer's role to make sure that the pipeline is created correctly. This is the very crucial role before your data preparation and modeling can start. Okay, so data engineer's role is to gather all the data, make sure he works around the data lake. Data lake is where, any formatted data, it could be images, videos, all that can be prepped and kept in a data lake. And from there, the model accesses it, right? So that is where a data engineer's role comes in. The next is a data steward. So these are usually the risk officers, who have to ensure that the regulatory compliances are met with. Now, I worked in the banking industry, and I can tell you the RBI regulations in our country, in India, is extremely important, and there could be legal issues that the clients run into. So in every banking or any insurance, BFSI industry, right, which is banking, finance, insurance organizations, they make sure they have risk officers. So this is the person who basically has to tell that, before this data goes into the model, he basically stamps it and says that, this data is good to go into the model, right? So data steward's role becomes very important. There's also an aspect of governing of this data. Governance is making sure that the people who have the authority to see that data, to refer to that data or use that data, is an authorized person. So these things are very crucial. Not everyone in the organization needs to have access to the data. So as and when, you have worked, you might have realized that even sharing your data with a colleague, do you really want to share? You'll start actually thinking, because at every step, there is a little risk involved. So it is all user-based. You will define the access roles that a person will have for the data. Is it view? Is it edit? Is it read, write access? And that is all defined by data governance, the role of a data steward. Very, very important role for a data steward. Now, the third role, of course, all of us get interested, is drawing insights from the data for the business, data scientist role. And this is, the maximum place where all of us are interested, is, the data scientist role. We all are familiar with that, using different kind of AI algorithms, machine learning, deep learning to, draw insights from the data. The fourth one is business analyst, and I did touch upon this last time as well. If you're a very visual person, if you like to draw visualizations, you like to, create stories or storyboard or dashboard using that data. For example, you want to draw a chart, right? You want to pull up some data from sales and sales per country, and you want to tell what are the sales trends. You want to depict that on a dashboard. You can share it across to the this dashboard to your stakeholders. That's the role of a business analyst. You might have heard about tools like Power BI, Tableau. Those are the tools that usually business analysts would work with, and they create reports, they create dashboards and stories to the stakeholders, right? So that is, again, you need to have little knowledge about Python as well. Not, I wouldn't say, complete Python high level coding, but at least the basic Python, along with one SQL database, one NoSQL database, and very thorough language of one of these tools that I mentioned. Could be Cognos, could be Tableau, could be Power BI, wherein any open source as well, where you have complete access and knowledge on how to create these nice dashboards. The fifth that you see, the fifth role over here is of an application developer. So once we develop a model, it's important that we are able to infuse that into the existing applications. So AI is basically a new thing in the market, right? Not though it's been there since 1950s, and you'll see it, everywhere. It has a long history. But even today, organizations don't have so much of AI running in production. The discussions maybe, I would say 100% on the ground, but finally what makes it in production is just that 20%. So application developer's role becomes very crucial, because he or she is responsible to plug this code or this analysis into the existing applications or existing. So if you are, if you're familiar with DevOps, Kubernetes, Docker, OpenShift, Red Hat, any technologies that can help you, infuse this analysis and code into applications. If you're an app developer, that is the role that we just defined. So these are overall the 5 roles that I wanted to talk about. And then probably this is the crisp DM, very important, we all understand. I'm going to skip this one because this just talks about the same process where we find data, we understand data, we do the data pre-processing, we extract the features. So in machine learning, we understand we don't call it columns, we extract the features. Basically, we train the model and then we deploy it. Now, the deployment can be in production. So usually in production, just done through rolling upgrades, and that's what you see over here. So it is a very important cycle that we, just talked about in the previous slide also. Just take a look at this. So you can see that either the region can be development and prototyping, or it could be production, right? So this is a typical data science workflow that you will come across in the industry. Now, just to simplify it, because I did talk about this whole life cycle, I have put it into 3 boxes here. The first one is build, okay? This is the data science life cycle from discovery to production. In build, I'm going to touch about another very important aspect that, we shouldn't miss on. And so I feel that this becomes very crucial, and let me run you through. The first box is 3 steps. Data exploration. So you remember I talked about, you getting the initial data and you want to start exploring it. So data exploration becomes the first step. Second is the data preparation, wherein you work with the data, you do a lot of data wrangling, making sure the data is perfect for the model to go. And the third step is model development. So this is the build. When you talk about a machine learning build process, these are the 3 steps in that. You got the data, you prepared the data, you did the model development. Development is done. The build process is over, right? Now, the next box, the second in the middle you see here, is run. Once your model is ready, you want to deploy that. And that is when this box, kicks off. You have deployment. With new data coming in, you have to retrain the model. And then we go into a process called model management. Because whenever you're doing retraining, you're doing training, there would be multiple versions. There would be several versions of these models. So you have to have a mechanism to do model management. Like, for example, using a logistic regression, okay, version 1, 1.2, 1.3. Now, there would be a team lead or somebody, senior data scientist, who would actually review the different models and push one of these models to deployment, right? So you want to choose the best model, and that is what you see over here. So you have deployment, you have retraining, because over time, your data itself becomes inconsistent. So it's important that your data is refreshed, it's new. And then we have model management. And very important is the third box that you see over here, is manage. Now, whenever a production is in, whenever a model is in production, you do not want a black box model. You want it to be transparent. You want it to be fair and explainable. Think about this scenario. I've talked about this, this very important example, in India, if you take the last 50 years. So in predictive analysis, we know that history data is what comes into consideration. Not all women might have applied for these different loans, right? Personal loan, home loan, car loan, etc. Now, so a model is built using this history data. The data itself is biased, right? Now, if this model is going to production, suppose we've deployed it here, the model goes into production. And because it is already biased, it is trained on the biased data, the outcome will not be fair again, right? So it's important that we are able to understand that an AI prediction, if the model is saying that, approve or reject, it says reject. We want to make sure that it is not because of a gender bias or an age bias or a community bias that a decision is made. And there are actually very serious implications in the US that, many clients have got through legal issues where, there was some bias against a community. It was a live case where there was a rental car and that cars wouldn't go to a particular community because of the history data, because of the bias in the data. Now that became a legal action. Whenever an AI is making a decision, you want to make sure that it is transparent, right? So you can see that fairness and explainability becomes very important. I always speak about this business KPI that once, something is running in production, you want to make sure it is abiding by the business KPIs continuously. So that whole continuous evaluation becomes very important. So guys, remember fairness and explainability. I'm going to touch upon this again right now in for the generative AI context, but this is important in both traditional AI and generative AI, right? Fairness and explainability, and making sure that there is no drift in the model. So the accuracy, if it's dropping below a threshold, you're getting a red flag saying that, guys, it's time for you to review the models. These kind of, tools and services are available in Python as well as in enterprise solutions. That is also something that you should be aware of. So remember, build, you have run, and you have managed. All three boxes are very, very important. Just remember this three, anytime you get an interview or you're going for this, do talk about a manage, because it will show that you have worked in production and the model that you've deployed, you understand why the output shouldn't be biased on and the model accuracy should remain at, this particular level. And the explainability part of the model is also very, very important. Okay. Now let me move on. So these are the different roles. So now I've just tagged across, where are these different roles coming, but it is self-explanatory. So you can imagine a data scientist role comes in where, data engineer comes in where, a business analyst comes in. So I've just put it across on the slide. Now, we all understand the two flavors of machine learning, very basic, but I'm just going to quickly touch upon anytime when you have data, right? You just have input X here. It means that it is unsupervised because you do not have a labeled data. You don't have something to refer to, right? There is no history data. That is when we have to go for unsupervised machine learning models where you do clustering and you make sure, the data can be understood in different ways. And it is still very much used, sometimes even along with supervised learning. So if you are doing traditional machine learning, guys, I would still say generative AI is coming, but even on our platform, both generative AI and traditional AI, both are supported. You're on the right track. I would say wherever you are, just continue the journey. Generative AI use cases are very different from traditional AI. So I would always say traditional AI, what I mean is predictive analytics, it is going to continue. There is no way that generative AI is going to take up. This is another question I keep getting, that, is generative AI going to take over, traditional AI? The answer is no, because the use cases that we define in, one second, in traditional AI is very different from the ones that we have in generative AI. Okay. So I'm going to quickly take you through something called auto AI, because I understand not all of us, are even if you're machine learning data scientist, we have tools like auto AI and auto ML, where you can quickly, create models right? And just through UI. So even if you're new, so somebody who's new, if you have a CSV data set, you just need to upload that CSV onto the UI, choose which column you want to predict, and then the auto AI or auto ML will give you the best model. So as you can see on my screen, the best model is, ranked, and it will basically tell you which is this best performing model, and you can choose that for deployment. So there is no worry. There are a lot of tools which are low code, no code, but if you know Python, nothing like it, please start off the journey. But for anybody who's exploring Kaggle or, any challenges, start building these prototypes using an auto ML or an auto AI, and then you get into the coding piece. Another advantage that auto AI would give you is it would actually be able to give you the code that ran behind, this whole automated process as well. So you can use that and then tune it for the use case as well, for your understanding also. So these are some terms that all of us should be familiar with. One is the ML pipeline, right? A typical flow of a machine learning pipeline, like I just said, is ingest, clean, transform, and model with hyperparameter optimization. Now, guys, I want you to remember hyperparameter optimization. Though this word looks, sounds complex, it's nothing. It's just like, I'm going to reduce the brightness of my screen. I'm increasing it, right? Similar is what you have for hyperparameter optimization. Just like you can tune the parameters of your computer to adjust, right, to get you the best performance. Similarly, for any machine learning model, you have different parameters, and you're basically tuning them to get the best output for your machine learning model. That process is called as HPO, or hyperparameter optimization, right? So in the ML pipeline, you have ingest, you clean, you transform, and then you do HPO. So this is a complete ML pipeline. The second is estimators. So estimators, just like algorithms, it's another word, estimators. I'm just introducing you to some keywords that, you should be familiar if somebody asks you. This estimator is same as algorithm. There's no difference. Logistic regression, random forest, etc. These are all estimators, okay? I've already explained HPO. This is the process of training the model with different parameters specific to each algorithm. Every algorithm will have its own specific parameters. The last is model evaluation metrics. Now, this model evaluation, AUC, ROC, F1 score for classification, RMSE for your regression. For LLM, you have rouge, you have blue, you have toxicity. Your different LLM metrics, you have different predictive classification, regression, model evaluation metrics. So this is just an overall thing, but some terminologies that I wanted to introduce you with. Right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the Watson X. Just let me stop sharing, and I'll share Watson X. Guys, I will open it up for questions, but I really wanted to share this aspects as well. Very, very important from an industry perspective before we will get into the questions, right? So, before I move to this slide, I want to take you through this. Okay. Now, how many of us know, when did this chat GPT come? Can you give me a rough timing? How many of us remember when this chat GPT came in? Any idea? You can put it on chat. 22, November 22. Exactly. So I think you all know it. It came in November 22, and I can tell you we are in a very, very different era. And we're very lucky to have witnessed here, just like when the 2000 happened and now 2022 happened, wherein this whole generative AI and this chat GPT has come in. It's created so much of this, what do I say? It's not just a buzz, right? In reality, there are a lot of industry use cases that have come in. And these are some stats that we have. The speed, the scope, and the scale of generative AI is basically never seen, right? So there were 1 million users within 1 week of its coming. And there are 100 million users within 2 months. And of course, I was one of the 2 months person. But OpenAI ChatGPT has really opened the doors for, generative AI. And it says it can raise the global GDP by 7% within 10 years. By 2025, 30% of new drugs and materials will be systematically discovered using generative AI, up from zero today. So right now it is zero, but in 2025, it's going to be 30% plus of all the new drugs that will come is through generative AI. Why? Because even code is a language for it, right? So it can read and give the output, summarization, generation, all the same way. 30% of outbound marketing messages from large organizations will be synthetically generated in 2025, up from less than 2% in 2022. Now, one thing is, when I say marketing or drug discovery or coding, another very big worry is that, our jobs are going to go. Our jobs are not going to go. It's just that the jobs themselves are going to be transformed. So it's important that we understand and we get a hold of this AI today as soon as possible, right? The jobs themselves are going to be transformed. And I'm going to talk about some jobs that come in with generative AI coming. So in the previous section, we talked about the traditional AI jobs. Now we're going to talk about the jobs that you will be interested if you're interested in the generative AI side, right? Now, generative AI adoption comes, any technology, any era that comes in comes with its own risk. And the four important things. So 80% of the business leaders today see that at least one of these ethical issues as a major concern. I talked about explainability some time back, that they believe that decisions made by generative AI are not explainable, right? The very first point. 48% of business leaders feel that. Now, the second is ethics. 46% of the leaders believe that they have concerns about the safety and the ethical aspects of generative AI. Third is the bias, where they believe that generative AI will propagate the established biases because it's basically learning and repeating. It's going to learning and summarize, learning and generate. But that learning, basically an LLM is a pre-trained model that will propagate, that might propagate these biases. And the last one is trust, where people and business leaders, 80%. So this is a study that we did within IBM, and we find that 42% business leaders have trust issues with generative AI, right? And this is what is going to be the talking point for me in today's session. The first thing I want you all to understand is, how is this foundation model even created? So we discussed traditional AI model, right? Where there is supervised learning and unsupervised learning. For each task, in traditional AI, there is, one set of data and one set of algorithm, and the task is completed. So for every task, there were different individual models and different data sets that were trained on, right? But if you look at this figure, which is the foundation model, we understand the number of parameters that a foundation model runs into is basically billion and million. So there is one massive foundation model, which is trained with everything, all your external data, including music, images, everything from the net, anything, all research papers, all medical fields or pharma companies have put in the data. This model has basically learned it up. It's called a pre-trained massive foundation model. And then all you need to do is, with some prompting, you will be able to do all these different use cases. So here it was like one model for every task, right? So for each task, it was a one-to-one mapping. One task, one model, one data set. Here, all the data sets, it's fed into one massive foundation model, and different tasks can be done. Very, very important. All right. This has to be in your minds. This explanation has to be going in your minds, because even if today you are going for a traditional AI predictive an interview, they would touch upon foundational model. What is a foundation model? It is basically a pre-trained massive foundation model where you have fed in all your enterprise proprietary data plus external data. And with very few examples or something called prompting, you will be able to do use cases like question answers, translation, sentiment analysis, code generation, etc. I'm going to pause here because this slide becomes very important, and this will be shared with you as well. Look at the advantages. So you can see that there is a lower upfront cost through less labeling, faster deployment because it's just one model. Through one model, you will be able to do multiple tasks. But of course, this one model might be heavy for you because it uses millions and billions of parameters. Here, it's not so many, right? These are smaller models. So hence the differences. But yeah, there are pros and cons, and there are different use cases that you can do. Now, in general, there are 6 use cases that you will hear in generative AI. The very first one is retrieval augmented generation. I hope you're with me on this. Nothing, it's not a very tough term again. You call it RAG, which is RAG, retrieval augmented generation. You have summarization, all right? You have content generation, named entity recognition, insight extraction, and classification. Let's go through this one by one. Before we leave the session today, these use cases will be on your minds, and then you will be also seeing some of these use cases in action. So you will remember these when you go. The first one is RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. Think about your school. Yeah, think about all the books that you had for history. Now, if you put all those, documents into a collection, think about all your history books go into a collection. From that collection, a chatbot is able to hit a user query to you, right? Imagine there is a chatbot that can enter a question. This question goes to the backend where there is this collection. From this collection, the matching answers go into something called an LLM, which is the foundation model. And the foundation model generates it, mix it best, chooses the right answer from that, creates a wrapper around it, and gives you the best output. So it sends the response back to the user. So it's basically based on documents or dynamic content. You create a chatbot or a question answer feature. You'll remember this as the question answer feature with a collection of knowledge base. Retrieval, basically you're retrieving the matching answers and you're augmenting it and generating the right response for the end user. That is RAG. Okay. The second one is summarization, where you have, a lot of text, large text. You want to summarize that, right? For example, conversation summaries. Think about these different conversations you have. Today, we are having these conversations, right? If somebody could summarize this for you in 200 words, 300 words, or, there is a video, you want to summarize it. How do you do that? You can do that today. You just take the video, you transcribe it from audio, speech to text, and that text can be summarized. That is where we are. So I'll show you some use case, interesting use case on this as well. Summarization is very self-explanatory. The third is content generation. Any marketing brief that you want to generate, job descriptions you want to generate, blog post, articles. I'm sure all of us have already used, ChatGPT for this, but one of the very common use cases is content generation because it's already learned so much, right? It can give you the answers very easily. The fourth one is named entity recognition, where, you have these different fact extractions. You want to just extract the essential information. Think about these insurance companies. They have so many documents just flowing into it. And we use OCR techniques to read the insurance ID, the insurance claim amount, the client details, the address, etc. Named entity recognition is that. Then we have the fifth one, which is the insight extraction. So when you have a lot of pharma or research papers, right, you want to do the insights from that. These are huge papers that you have. Now, medical diagnosis support, all that can, so you can extract insights very quickly from large unstructured text. That is insight extraction. And the last one is classification, where you read and classify the written input with very few or zero examples. So classification like sentiment analysis, customer segmentation. Think about a banking scenario again, where they want to offer, you get those calls right from the banks. How do you think they are finding you? They know that you are in a class, they all know all your details, even if you think they don't. They know all your details, they're aware of what you do, where you're working, and all they need to do is send you the recommended product feature information, right? So they do customer segmentation, loyalty programs based on classification. Now, all of these are possible today using generative AI, right? So these are the 6 use cases. And I'm going to skip this for now. I'm going to take you straight to the platform so that we get some time with the platform as well. All right. So guys, you want a break or something, or can I just show you the platform quickly? It's correct 11:45. I had thought of 45 minutes discussion before we move into the use cases. I'm just going to... Please continue. Thank you. No break. Wonderful. I like the energy already, though I don't hear you, but then I really wish we could be face to face today. But yeah. So this is the Watson X platform. Like I said, it supports the traditional AI and generative AI. Okay. And just because AI is incomplete, we have different ways that you can access it. The first is using chat prompt, and you can start chatting here with the foundation model. Give me the reason for, I'm having a bad day. Why is my sales performance going low? What is the latest news? You can just start chatting over here. We have something called a prompt lab. I'll be showing you that in a minute, where you will be doing prompting, where there are these large language models already present on our platform. And then you can just give few examples and see how the prompting works. Then we have a tuning studio. I talked about HPO for the traditional models. Similarly, we have a tuning studio for your foundation models, where you given the label data, you give 100 more examples, and then you start tuning your model for a particular use case. You do something called fine tuning for your model, right? So that is where we do using Tuning Studio. I do not have the GA version for it because it's internal to IBM right now, but I'll show you the prompt lab for sure. And the third one is request or track models in AI use case with AI governance. So very, very important. I will touch upon, this AI governance piece as well. But let me first take you through. So these are the different projects on this page. You will be able to see the, different projects we have. Let me take you to the prompt lab quickly. Yeah. So this is the prompt lab. It's basically divided into an instruction, right? Wherein you give the prompt, summarize this transcript, or, generate a marketing brief. This is where you give the one-line instruction. Then you have examples. We have few short examples, one-shot prompting. All that is done using, giving examples over here. I'll show you some different kind of few short I have some samples, so probably I show you that. So this is where you give your examples, and then you have the tryout panel. Let me also show you the different models that we have on the platform. Sorry, I'll just close my minutes. Yeah. So we have different foundation models over here. Let me quickly show you. All these LLMs that you see, Granite, Mistral, you have MT0, Code, Llama. So you can see Google. So we not just restricting it to the IBM models, though IBM model Granite, it's pretty good. So every model name that you see here, first is your model name, which is Granite, followed by a hyphen, followed by the number of parameters that it has. So this is basically a 13 billion model, right? 13 billion parameters model. This is the chat V2, right? Similarly, we have Granite Instruct, Granite 20 billion multilingual. You can see Granite 3 billion code instruct, Granite 7 billion lab. So this is an instruct lab, So there are different models that we have from IBM. We have different open source as well. We have Big Science. We have Code Llama. We have Flan from Google. This is Flan UL, Flan T5. All this is also available. We have Mixtral, which is one of the latest, and we have already, collaborated with Mistral. And then we have Llama, again from Meta. We all are familiar with Meta as well. So this is another one. So there are various, LLMs that's available on the platform. So what we've done is basically we've tied up with huggingface.com. You can explore it, like I said, in my last session as well. All the open source model, it's a community where we have developers, continuously developing that. So all these models are available through here, and you can just choose which model you want to work with. So for example, if I want to go to using Llama 270 billion, chat, I can do that. Or if I want to choose another one, maybe just a basic chat, I'll use maybe an instruct 70 billion, I can do that. If I click on the model, it will again give me all the details about the Llama model as well. What is the training data that is used? So you can see that it was pre-trained over 15 trillion tokens. What is a token, guys? Anybody who can help me with what is a token? Anybody on chat who can tell me what is a token? It's word. Yeah, so exactly. So it's almost like 3/4 of a word. I would say token is 3/4 of a word. Okay. So since generative AI, we measure generative AI based on tokens. Tokens is basically 3/4 of a word. Why? Because it is basically text generation, right? Large language model. So large language model is text-based model. So just like generative AI, today we're talking about LLM, it is all based on text. Again, we will have large language models, we'll have large image models, large video models, etc. Today, what you see here, foundation models, is all LLM. Hence, it is token-based, even the licensing for customers, right, that who want to use the platform, it will be based on tokens, right? So let me show you a few examples here. So we have meeting transcript summary. Quickly, you can see that, write a short summary of the meeting transcript. You have been given some transcript. John and Jane are having a discussion. And then there is a summary that is generated, right? You have something in the tryout panel, and I want to generate, you can see it's a long conversation. John and Jane are talking a lot. And I quickly want to have the summary for this. I just click on generate, right? And it's basically saying that John and Jane are trying to replicate the results from the last analysis. They found that testing of the downstream classifier was done on the training data. They want to set up a consistent evaluation protocol that they can replicate on their site. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to change this model. Okay, I'm going to use probably a granite, right? I've changed the model. And now I want to say is make the tokens minimum 100. Now, what happens is I've just increased the number of tokens to minimum 100. That means increase the output, right? So I click on generate again, and we'll see that it will generate at least 100 tokens. So that is why I said the licensing is based on these tokens. So minimum tokens and maximum tokens you can set. We have stopping criteria. You have repetition penalty where, if the LLM starts repeating some of it, you can increase this penalty from till up to 2, and it will actually reduce the repetition as well. There are different ways of decoding greedy and sampling. So generative AI is pretty easy. You can see that, with the drop downs, it's basically a platform. I would say, remember Watson X, IBM Watson X as a platform where, you can actually use any models that's available on the platform. Now, one question you may ask is, how are we bringing these models to the platform? And one thing observe is not all models from Hugging Face or, from all companies, IBM is getting into the platform. Why? Because for us, when we're getting a model onto the platform, we are making sure that we have something called AI guardrails. Do you see that on the top? IBM's focus, it's enterprise, right? So we have customers across the world in banking, manufacturing. One second. Just, yeah. banking, manufacturing, etc. And we want to make sure that there is no HAP, right? Hate, abuse, profanity that goes as part of the output text, which is also a possibility, right? That is why we have something called AI guardrails off. And basically, you can see that, I've just clicked on the information. It basically says guardrails on to remove potentially harmful input and output text, such as hate speech, abuse, or profanity. You see that difference? Are you all with me? Why are we not getting all the models? It's not the right time to get, use any model, because at enterprise level, you cannot give any text to the users, right? You have to make sure it is off HAP. There are HAP filters in the guardrails, and that's how it does. Now, what you see on the left side are the different use cases. We have summarization, classification, generation, right? Marketing, email, extraction, all the use cases that I talked, the 6 use cases that I talked about, it's all there. Other than that, in generation, we also have code generation and code translation. So maybe I'll take you through this example. So in structured, you have, using the directions below, generate Python code for the given task. So the Python, task, the example one is printing a hello world, and it's given me the code, right? So in the tryout panel, what I'm saying is write a Python function which generates sequence of prime numbers. And you can see that I'm using code llama for this, code llama, which is 34 billion instruct LLM, right? Even if this is the first time, guys, you're seeing an LLM in play, I'm telling you, it's just a start. And even, I mean, I would say any time to start is not late. It came in 2022, but people are still exploring, and every day, it's just that we have to up the game to start learning faster, but it's never late. Trust me, it's not late. So I'm just I click on generate, and it will give me the code to generate the sequence of prime numbers, right? So uh, I can tell you that I'm connected with the industry. I'm a customer success manager, and I go to events wherein I talk about different use cases. The customers are just getting started, and they're actually looking for a lot of talent. There is a whole lack of talent in prompting. Even this basic prompting, people are not getting it. So go for generative AI, courses if you are interested. Right time, the iron is hot, the technology is hot, and please go and take up any course. Like I already said, do some projects, do end-to-end course, get that certificate. And, we are not going to just sit with the certificate. We are going to go ahead and do some use cases as well. So just explore a little more, and you will be able to, check out more. Another thing I'll quickly show is code translation, where you have a C++ code to Python. So even in migration projects, a lot of organizations who are doing, migration from Java to or COBOL to Java, Java to Python. So there are different code translation which is also supported. And you can just click on the code, and the C++ code, the corresponding Python code is generated. So you live on the screen, you can see where we are headed to. But all I'm saying is, if you can, right time, you can learn prompting, do something on generative AI, at least, understand what is generative AI quickly. It will help you to grab a job soon in this field. Okay. And another thing that I wanted to show you is DSCE. I did share the link last time. Let me show you the platform as well. So what you just saw is IBM What's Next. Now using that, I'm working with one of my teams who basically create all these use cases. So whenever we go and come back, talking to different customers, based on the industry requirements, we have now curated a lot of use cases here based on the AI task that they want to do. Is it classification, or is it, RAG that we talked about? All that can be done over here. So I'll quickly show you maybe, financial reports, insights, or maybe a scan document Q&A. Let me show you a scan document Q&A. right? This is dsce.ibm.com, where we go into the interactive live demo. So these are some industry use cases that I thought I'll bring you. So you know OCR, right? So we can just quickly select a invoice that is a scanned invoice, and you can start asking questions. What is the port of discharge? And this is a RAG model because these collection of documents which are scanned are uploaded, and through a user query, you will be able to get the output, right? So I'm just going to hit a question. What is the port of discharge? It's still generating. I think it is generating. And we have Tesseract and PDF Miner and Watson as well. So if you want to compare an open source, and here we're using a Llama 70 billion model, and you can change the models and also see, what is being generated. Let me choose another document. So what is the security number? Just give me a minute, guys. It is generating, so we'll have to give it a minute. But you can see that the scanned documents, there is a social security number. It is 195219260. So that is what is trying to be accessed over here. All right. I am going to see if you have some questions. Yes, not biased, not doing freelancing work counts. Yeah. So Geeta, good question. I'm just going to take this question before I move on, because somehow this site, let me just do a refresh then. Give me a minute, guys. Let me just try a basic one first. So, you always have to pray to all the demo gods before you take up, because there might be some code being pushed or something sometimes. And all right, so this is another example. Let's look at this one where there is a brief builder. Brief builder basically means you give the company details, feature, product information, kickoff date, etc. And you want to quickly generate a brief. I'll just test this and then show you something else as well. So it will give you a marketing brief, like you can see that, right? So key message, creative direction, etc. Very quickly you can do this. Now, this is one. And if you want to upload your own, you will have to sign into, ibm.com and do it yourself. Now, let me show you another good one as well. All are good, but I wanted to show you something on RAG, some code generation, extraction, everything is here. Let's check out something on summarization. So there is a customer care portal. And this is how it typically will look. So you can see that there is a small icon on the right bottom. This is how it starts, customer care agent. Hi, Sarah. And it will start conversing with you, right? So you can start asking on this portal what you're interested in on, and it will start actually recommending you a lot of products that it has seen. Now, this is where the, industry's headed to. If you want to explore some projects from here, do explore. There are different models also from Google, IBM, Meta, Mistral. You can explore these, right? I've already shared you the link last time, dsc.ibm.com. Do explore them. And then I wanted to share you basic, what's next, funders as well. Just give me a minute. So we'll go back to the use cases. There are more interesting use cases, not only on DSC, there's another app that I've created. But before that, I need a 2-minute break, guys. I'll just be back in 2 minutes. Is it okay, Avneet, if I just take 2 minutes?
Absolutely, Binu.
Yeah, I'll just be back. All right,
Sure.
guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Traditional. All right. Similarly, in traditional AI, we have AUC, ROC, F1 score, etc. Now, whenever you have these different data quality metrics, that is one, you want to make sure your data is quality-wise okay, it is responsible, it is transparent, it is explainable. All this is taken care. So that's why we have the governance. So all this is part of the platform. And then we have something called Red Hat OpenShift. Why? Because you want to make sure that it can run anywhere, be it on public or private servers or any public cloud or your own. So anywhere it should be able to run, and hence you will see this red line on the below is Red Hat OpenShift that allows you to run it anywhere, right? So this is where the industry trends are. These are the three main use cases that we have seen. App modernization, I talked about, code generation, code translations. Customer service, the RAG use case that I talked about, where we have conversational AI, where simply a user query can be answered using the collection of knowledge bases. We have talent, where there is a 40% improvement in the HR productivity using generative AI through talent acquisition, performance management, employee data management, employee communications, right? Learning and event management. Everything is going to improve and has improved with generative AI. Now, I've covered this slide and this slide and this slide. Well, what's next on data? Where do we make sure that we differentiate is we want to make sure that the data that is fed into the model, like I told you in the very beginning, the crisp DM, the data that you feed into the model has to be good. And how do you make sure? There is something called data duplication, where we make sure that any unnecessary duplications are avoided, any hate, abuse, profanity, any inappropriate languages, all that is filtered through. The document quality is good. So data annotation is another process, and then data filtering, and then the tokenization. So you don't have to remember any of this, but this is how our model is trained on. We call it the IBM data pile. This is what's going into. So though you will have a lot of external data coming in, there is a set of procedures that the data goes through before it enters the model. Now, this is some of the models, but now this is also improved. I showed you the latest platform itself. So, where is it being used? How is it being used? Where can we apply? All that can be answered. So if you're in an enterprise and you want to know something about it, do reach out, because I can help you get connected. Now, what's next are data? Another very important concept. If you're data engineers yourself, you would understand what is a data lake. So data lake is where any structured and unstructured data can be together. We have data warehouse where only structured data exists. Why? Because you want to use it for business intelligence, for the reporting. Like I said, the business analysts, they usually work with structured data only, right? So where can we get the amalgamation? How do we work through the structured and unstructured? That is where the industry is now headed to something called lake house. So these are just key terms, and just know it. I mean, you don't have to go deep into this, but I would say let's just know about these things. So there's a data lake. Lake is somewhere where you can enter any kind of data, open format, basically. Data warehouse is closed formats, you have structured data. And lake house is a combination of a lake and a warehouse ka house. So it's any workload it would support. You can see BI reports, data science, AI, ML, and you can query against both structured and unstructured data. Cost-wise is also comparable to a data lake and not a data warehouse. Right? So this is what a lake house would mean. And even if I'm telling you this, I'm not expecting you to go deep, but we should know that what is a lake house. It's a combination of a lake and a warehouse, right? So that is why I thought I'll share with you. You don't have to go into this architecture, but somebody's interested. It's part of the slides. I can, it's getting recorded and we'll be able to share it as well. Now, this is the third piece of governance that we talked about, right? Wherein once you build your model, how do you make sure, the risk and everything is taken care of? So this is the whole process. What I want you to remember is it should be explainable. There is a lot of risk as part of AI. Even if we're entering, we have to have that knowledge that yes, there could be legal implications if there is any accuracy issues, drift issues, bias, or explainability problems. So this is something that I wanted to share. Um, right now when we're just getting started, we're only interested in the build motion. I'm not bothered about what is getting deployed. We just put it to production. This is also a mindset, but since I've been here, spent some time here, I know the importance of this and hence I'm sharing. So as you get in, also have this in mind, or if you're already there, let's bring these principles and let's get risk governance also as part of the AI life cycle. And if you're already there, it's up to you, you're in the right place, right? So this is what I had for you today, and I really wanted to break. It's 12:15 exactly. So we did talk about, just a recap before we go, is we did talk about traditional AI, ML, um, what is it? AI, machine learning, deep learning, data science. And within deep learning, now we have generative AI coming in. We touched upon the different roles in the industry with respect to the CRISP DM process. And if you're interested in business analytics or, an application developer, or if you want to be a data scientist, or if you want to be a risk officer or a data steward, right? That's something that you want to explore. And then we went on to something called auto AI. So even if you're new to coding, there are ways that you can quickly build prototypes. So use auto ML, etc. You might also want to explore generative AI. I showed you the Watson X platform, some of the use cases, the 6 use cases that we talked about. These are very much industry relevant. And these are things that, I do talk about to all the industries across manufacturing, banking, retail, HR, everywhere, right? So generative AI is pretty much relevant. We talked about something called prompting. I showed you what is prompting, where you give examples and then just tell the model what are you expecting. That is prompting. Basically, we have prompt engineering as a field of, if you want to explore. If you want to explore prompt engineering, do explore that as well. That is something which is highly paid, highly paid. I'm aware, there are openings, but yes, skills is something that we need to develop. So if you can give yourself 90 days, guys, give yourself the time. Nothing is learned, just in a day or two. It's going to take time. Give yourself 90 days, make yourself a timetable. I mean, even I sometimes struggle through, having that whole timing for learning. But I would say that's the key. And I have to learn because, I'm in front of the customers every day. But for you as well, I would suggest find the time to learn, um, and you will be good at it, right? Work on projects, especially. That's something I would always say, that whatever knowledge we have, it doesn't complete. It's not theory, it's practical knowledge that we need. So there are lots and lots of knowledge building um, courses today. Explore generative AI, explore skills build. Also follow a lot on LinkedIn. So yesterday we had the IBM Think event, a lot of more things, more use cases that you would want to focus on, right? Yeah, so registration, yeah, I did hear on this. So there is some checks they have with your personal email ID, and try to use a corporate email ID if that is working. But I do see IBM Cloud registration. Sometimes I do get this request. Sweetie, that's for you. Yeah, so maybe I'll quickly share you developer.ibm.com if you want to quickly practice more, right? And this is something that you would want to explore step by step. Mr. Let me show you this thing. Can you see my screen? Avneet, do you see my screen? IBM developer?
No, no, Vinu.
Okay. Now you see it?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So guys, this is developer.ibm.com. Okay, this is a good place to start off. You can grow your skills. You can see there are 5 tabs here. There is generative AI, there's data management, there's programming languages, containers, and trials, right? So you can try something from here, try what's next.ai, try what's next.data that we just talked about. And in generative AI, there is a lot of, Mistral AI partnership, or, you just want to learn about Llama or Llama 3 prompts like a pro, you can just go into this hands-on learning, for example, and it will give you, it's a guided project. Go through this, guys. There's nothing, and you can see it's a level is a beginner. AI LangChain is something that is used, right? And why Llama 3, why the model, right? And you can then go into what you'll need is a browser and general knowledge of Python. Accesses Llama 3 is hosted on whatsnext.ai, free of charge, right? So I just showed you the platform itself. So they will take you through this. You'll have to log in to enroll and your journey gets started. So this is cognitiveclass.ai that you can also register. This is good. So maybe I'll share you the developer.ibm.com I shared last time. You can just go through this link and explore generative AI as well. Sure. You want me to share this link? I can share this one particular as well, right? So there's an interesting question by Ritu on what criteria do we rate the models? So Ritu, today, we usually do it using something called ROI. What is my return on investment? Any customer, any client that you go to, the first question they would say is, why should I choose a Llama or a Granite, right? I talked about the different number of parameters that's it's using. Before, there was no conversation like that because most of the parameters, be it logistic regression or XGBoost, number of parameters was never a discussion. Today, the models are so huge, right? If you want to use it on your server, you're going to need GPUs. It's going to run into crores, right? So we understand the expense around it. So the first thing is, do you want to run it on cloud or do you want to run it on prem? If it is on your premises, on your physical servers, it's going to cost you. Now, if you're ready with the cost or you already have GPUs, right? Then the next question is, which model do you want to use? So we have small, medium, large models. There is t-shirt sizing also around it. Like, what are the use cases that you want to focus on? For example, I talked about Code Llama, right? So if it is coding based code generation or code translation, you want to use Code Llama. The specifications for that is 34 billion parameter or a 70 billion Llama model is what you want to use, right? So everything, the sizing, the licensing, everything is going to cost. And when am I going to get the result? So there are different ways, there are different uh, I would say parameters that this decision would be based on. Also, for example, if it is a RAG model that we talked about, right? A RAG model is not just an LLM. You have a front end where there is a chatbot that you need. So you need a chatbot where that's the first component that you need. For a chatbot, you can have Watson Assistant, or it can be some any other open source or a Python developed chatbot. Then you need to build a collection. Now, have you all heard about Vector DB, Milvis? You will hear it anyway. It's MILVUS. Milvis is where all this collection of data is broken down into chunks. Basically, we call the process as chunking, and all that information is put into chunks so that whenever a user is asking you a question, it can go find the matching answers from that chunk, get it back, and then it is fed into LLM. Correct. So there's a lot of things that goes into, but a very valid question. We actually have like a 2-day workshop with the customer on what is the use case discovery workshop. Then we do some pilots, and then and then basis the cost versus performance. We have a lot of discussion on that, and that's how we rate the models. But it's a very, very important question in the industry today. So Ritu, thanks for the question. Any other questions I should take? Yeah, thanks, Snehalata, for sharing. Thank you. Hey, is it time? Is it 12:24? I still have 6 minutes to go.
And there are a lot of questions in the
Yeah, if you could help
Q&A.
me, because I think I'm
Yeah.
just
So I don't know where to start it from, Binu, because there are a lot. So,
Okay.
I'll do first. Shruti wanted to speak something, so let me just allow her to talk and she can, specify her question herself. Shruti,
Yeah.
you can talk now.
Yeah, hello, ma'am.
Hi,
I just
Shruti.
want to know, like, some in internet we have got a lot of data sets, right? Like we mentioned data lake, warehouse, and all these things. So where does this Kaggle and other data sets, the normal data sets we download, right?
Hmm.
So what category actually they belong? Because some are unstructured, some are structured, some are combination of both. Some you don't, like, you need to do some predictive analysis. So I just want to know, like, which is a perfect data place where as a beginner we can start.
Let me just open them. Kaggle. 1 second. 1 second, Shruti. I'll just take you to Kaggle now, okay? Because I think you're starting from here, right? Let me try signing in as well. Not sure if I signed in using this name. Yeah. All right. So you want to explore the data sets. All right. So this is where you have to go to data sets. Okay. And Shruti, you can see that there are a lot of trending data sets as well. You see that? So these will be used like within a month. So do explore these trending data sets from here. Okay. Now, more important than finding the data set is what use case you want to work on. So there are some competitions here. This is something that you would want to explore, right? So you can see that, in AI, forget about this one, maybe this one, a credit risk model stability, or the most basic, if there is there's LLM 20 questions, and if you want to make money, like, you can see the pricing as well, and if you want to explore that from a team, I've already discussed, is something you can use. Now, just to start off, if you're starting with very basic, I would say go with the Titanic data set, because if you're just getting started, right? So you can go and explore this Titanic ship, the real Titanic data set, and then you can visualize it. You can start exploring it. There is a whole, this is a Titanic data set wherein you can write a code or visualize it, etc. And somewhere people have already solved the problem. So you can actually go through, and there will be code above code. So you can see, what are the improvements, what are the iterations that the code has gone through. So use that. Or if you want to explore, this diabetes health indicators data, so it's a classification problem, right? Whether the person, has diabetes or not, you could explore this as well. So there's no lack of data sets. Now, another point that you bring in is, on the structured and unstructured data set. That doesn't matter. So because it depends on the use case that you want to try out, right? Or is it images? Then of course it is not, the structured data set. When I say structured, it means row column format. That is where a data warehouse. So data warehouses, data lakes, these are concepts that organizations use to organize their data. So when we are doing a Kaggle data set, that problem is very different. But if imagine you have so much of structured data and you want to, use it for reporting and dashboarding, that's when a data warehouse comes in. So this, let me explain that in a little more detail. So we talked about data warehousing, right? This is what I talked about. At an enterprise level, guys. So at an enterprise level, at an organization level, when you want to work on a business intelligence story dashboarding, that's when you need a data warehouse. When you're doing AI machine learning at an enterprise level, you need a data lake where you can store both structured and unstructured data at a very cheap cost. The cost compared to a data warehouse is much less in a data lake, right? But it will not be structured. So that is where our models do the job. Our data pre-processing comes into picture. So you can see this extract, load, and transform process comes into picture. But here it is extract, transform, and load. Very easy compared. And then you move into BI part. So, but what I'm trying to bring a differentiator is the ones that we're trying to solve, those data sets are different. This is at an enterprise level that we're talking about. Shruti, I hope I could answer your question. Please go to Kaggle, and if you can explore data sets from there.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I got a clear idea.
Yeah. Thank you, Shruti.
Okay, we have one question from Geeta. She's
Geeta.
asking, hi, Vinu, to help us pursue our learning activities effectively. It is in the chat box. It would be great if you can help us out with a basic flow of concept. That would be great if you can help us with the basic flow of concepts that we should learn to reach a beginner level. With right to knowledge of AI, this would set the prerequisite levels for us as we move into phase 2 of Hershakti. So is there anything which you can provide them, from your side?
Yeah. Let me give you skills build. I did give it last time as well, I think. So guys, this link that I'm sharing with you is going to give you all the badges, all details that you have. Okay. Very basic. Let me just show you this link as well. Okay. So this is skillsbit.org. Okay. And whenever I'm talking to, people who are just getting started at beginner level, this can be very good. Don't go into Kaggle. That will be, too soon for you. Go and, start learning from here. So go to this learners portal. Okay. Go to the learners portal and kick off some, go to adult learners and just try to log in, and then you will see data learning path. Very basic. So data 101, data analyst, like all the roles that I've described. So I was also part of this team that, created the content. So you can start exploring very basic badges. The advantage with your, this, so if you're just starting, go and take a data fundamentals course, right? Then you have Excel, you have data analytics course, introduction to data analytics. Then you go and explore these badges. Okay. Once you complete a course like this, you will be getting this badge from IBM Developers Skills Network, and you can use it in your resume or you can post it on LinkedIn also. So data analytics certificate, these are all free courses. This is all free. There's no payment also required. It's mainly meant for beginners, university students and, all of us who are just getting started. So you can see start learning for free. So this is what I'll recommend if you're just getting started. Don't just go to, Kaggle, because I want you to build that confidence first. Go to skillsbuild.org. Abneet, I think we shared this link last time as well, right? Hope
Yes,
they
we
have.
did. I will, again, refresh along with today's links what you have shared. So
Yeah,
we'll be posting it again, ladies. Just explore. A lot has been shared. I know for few of you it is a little overwhelming, but we will try to add up all the links together and share once again with you all.
absolutely. And before, I close, I want to say a few things, Avneet. That, there are two things, right? First, we are not going to compare ourselves with anybody else. Their journeys have been very different. All right. If you're feeling overwhelmed, take a step back. If you are just getting started, don't go to generative AI. Generative AI is still coming. There's lots more that's going to come. There is no compulsion that you need to move into, generative AI. Whatever your interest is, I talked about the different roles in the industry from data analyst, data science, business analyst. Just identify where are you a visual person? Then I'll do a business analyst role. Start with that. What is your interest? Right? Pick up a data set. Like I said, pick up a Titanic data set from a Kaggle and start exploring that. Or if you don't want to go to Kaggle right now, go to skillsbuild.org, right? And then you take up that data analytics badge that you saw, and towards the end they'll have a small project. You'll take the data set, do some steps in Python and complete it. So I think what I really want to say is, or if you're already in traditional AI, go for generative AI. That's a whole different, but there is place for everyone. We have to believe in something called abundance, wherein there is a space for everyone, right? So I'm telling you, don't get overwhelmed. Everyone's journey is different. If you're starting today, even a data analyst role pays you in dollars outside. You can earn very well But I would say just get into this data and AI, because this is the time, you're in the right time. Give yourself 90 days. You are not going to become an expert in 2 days, 3 days. It never happens. Give yourself 90 days, come up with a plan, go to skillsbuild.org and say, I'm going to do this, and this is okay. My pace is okay. However, wherever I am on my journey. Right. So with this, I would like to close. And you know yourselves very well, where you want to go, where you want to land. So all the best, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Binu. I mean, like, you always end up with a beautiful motivational thought you leave behind. And yes, ladies, a lot of content has already been shared with you. It's just you how you want to proceed ahead with all those, you know, links available. There is a lot which is there for you. It's just you have to start exploring. So please explore.
Avneet, I'm not sure if I lost you.
Hi, Binu. Sorry, I think there was some internet glitch in between.
No worries. You're back.
I'm so sorry. I
No
just,
worries.
I think we missed a few things in between. So that's what I was just, wrapping up the session with your motivational thought here. And yes, I was sharing that there is a lot more content which has been shared with all the candidates. It's just that what they should be, picking up wisely and moving ahead with that. So thank you very much. And also, Binu, I'm reading the messages. They want another session with you. So,
You know,
so Binu,
you know
you
how
are
I
in
did it
demand
today.
for sure.
No, 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 you know how I did it today. Guys, I actually took a
I
leave
know
today from
that.
my from my
I
work because
really, really appreciate
thank
taking
you.
out this time, Binu. And yes, a lot of you have already connected to Binu on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you can pass on the questions to us if in case there are any. We will try to get in touch with Binu, and whenever she is comfortable, she will be. I'm sure she will be happy to reply. So thank you so
Thank you,
much, Binu,
guys.
and it was amazing having you around. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much,
Have a
Avneet.
lovely day.
And team, thanks to you also. You guys do a great job. Thank you for your time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye, Binu. Have a lovely day ahead.
You too.